Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, wadau na wadawet, how you guys doing? Have you been? Welcome back to another episode of the Walking with Wanzuu podcast. My good name is Wanzuu, and if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I like to think of this as a nice, safe space where I get to talk about all things life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the laughable ones, the ones that look at my Kamba accent coming to ruin the vibe, the laughable ones, the ones that you think about it, you just cringe or even want to cry. All those, yes, you had it right here on this particular podcast. Have you guys been? It's been a heavy couple of weeks. The month of June, I'm even starting to feel like it's a pattern. First of all, last year in June, I was fighting for my life. The the amount of heartache and turmoil I experienced, I cannot begin even to describe in words. And the amount of heartbreak that not only I, but every other Kenyan, and even the world to some extent, experienced in June of 2024 was just, it was something else. Guys, um, for those of you who don't know, if you live under a rock, literally, is there was a finance bill that was put across, and it was really like the things in the bill weren't making sense. A lot of it was aiming towards overtaxing citizens who are already really struggling to make ends meet, and the government was just looking like it wants to spend our money anyhow. But Kenyans got together and they decided it ends here and it ends now. And we are not begging, we are telling and we are asking you that this thing needs to go. And so there were protests, there were peaceful protests that were had. And as part of the government retaliating, a number of people lost their lives. So many Kenyans were injured. So many people, were arrested. But to some extent, we got the reprieve that we got was that the president was able to withdraw and not sign the finance bill. However, there are a lot of changes in terms of governance that needs to be made. The cabinet secretaries have got to go. A lot of people who are in power, the members of parliament, the people in the senate, especially nominated people like these nominated MPs, nominated senators. They just nominated. Is it senators? Oh my God! Look at me just looking uninformed. Anyway, these people who especially hold these dockets where they've been nominated, they're just out here acting reckless, acting stupid, being very unserious. And I am so mad that someone would take something as precious as leadership and just use it to act a fool. And it doesn't even help that these people have social media handles. There's actually a particular lady that really puts a nasty taste in my mouth. And I really hope she gets what is coming for her, which is to be sent home. Because really, if you're not representing us and you're not doing the work that you were meant to do when you went into Senate, then or as a member of parliament or even any other docket that you're holding, just go home. Please just go home, and then people who want to work and represent Kenyans and do what they need to do can come and do it. I also feel very strongly that recent events are as a result of the rot that is in our society, and it's gone either from downwards and has spiraled going upwards, and now it can be seen in the higher levels of leadership in the country as at large, especially when Kenyans are communicating and saying this is not what we want, and the response is let's form a committee to discuss. No, just do your job. It's this is what we want, this is what we don't want, this is what we think you can do to improve. So how about you just sit down, see what you need to do, and then just do your job. Yeah. So I think we're all at a point generally as Kenyans where we're tired of public funds being misallocated, of people being mistreated, of Kenyans not getting access to very basic things that we should, considering the amount of tax that we're paying. And so, even as I stand feeling very proud and very bold to be in this moment of history, my heart goes out to all the people who've lost their loved ones in this struggle. I genuinely cannot imagine what they're going through. I've listened to a number of like the funeral services, speeches. I've seen a number of tributes that have been paid even on social media, and my heart really breaks for those people's loved ones, their parents, their brothers and sisters, their spouses. It's crazy. And I know that revolution always comes, like there's a price to pay and there's a cost that comes with revolution. But when it touches on human life and other people's well being, you can't get used to it. It's so painful. And I just want to pause in this moment and say that my heart goes out to those people's loved ones, but I celebrate them and I know that their sacrifice will not be in vain. And this was also a very hard season for me. First of all, I was really fighting for my life, guys. I was cramping like there's no tomorrow. My period came so hard on me last month. And then I was also just realizing that that was my first time dealing with uncertainty and also just dealing with a lot of unrest politically and just as far as my country is concerned, but me dealing with it as an adult. So me being responsible for my home and for my family, and me being my own prime source of support and my own prime source of information, and just me being the one to hold fort. I think all the other times I've had to deal with crisis, there have been adults in the room, and I wasn't the adult. But this time around, I was the adult, right? And I felt overwhelmed. I felt anxious. I think now is just when that anxiety is starting to wear off. And it hasn't completely. Like there was just an air of angst and uncertainty in the air. And I do realize that, like, because what we were all fighting for was so justified. I realized that that was necessary, and maybe that was the cost that we had, or the price that we had to pay for all of that. But it was such a hard time for me. And I really feel personally, in terms of our Instagram page, like I wasn't as vocal or just about trying to calm people, because I was really fighting for my sanity, that I didn't even know how I could pour into your cups. And if you came to my page for solace or some kind of comfort, and you weren't able to get it, truly from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. I definitely know that as someone who takes pride in having a space where I give comfort and I give some level of reprieve, I didn't show up as much as I would have loved to. But that's simply because I was personally fighting for my own sanity. I really was. It was such a hard time. And I can see how this revolution won't be easy. Is it doable? Yes. But it won't be easy. But I just hope that God will give us the grace, the wisdom, the strength that we need to be able to power through, and that we can all contribute in our own unique way and in whatever capacities that we have and that we can. I've been making a few small strides here and there, as far as my a number of things that I had. I don't know. I've always seen people make like vision boards and have wish lists. But for me, when I start any year, I normally just have some things that I hope to get done. And sometimes it could come in terms of personal improvement, things that I hope to achieve, or certain things that I hope to purchase. And there are a number of things that I had hoped to do that I have managed to tick off after the first half of the year. And honestly, all glory to God. I am so glad I've been able to do that. First of all, I don't know why it is now that I have decided to record after such a long time that my neighbors just want to bang their doors left, right, and center. But nobody shall stop reggae, we shall continue. So there are a number of things that I was trusting God for that I really wanted to do before the first half of the year, and I've managed to quite a number. And I'm just in this moment, I feel so grateful for a lot of things. I feel grateful for my home. I feel grateful for my own personal healing journey, my own personal improvement journey. I feel grateful for my child. I'm also in a season of full time parenting, meaning Even when my daughter was on midterm break, I was going to work with her. I didn't let her go to like my friend's place for the midterm break. I was with her. We went to work every day, and that really challenged me. Let me tell you, when you have someone looking at you and looking up to you, you kind of really do a self audit. First of all, I realized I'm really just not taking my reporting time at work seriously. Okay, there are times when I really be wilding. I'm just out here being 30 minutes late, an hour late, and it's not right. Although sometimes it's because, like, the reason is justified, but the bottom line is I could do a lot better as far as my tardiness is concerned. And that was a huge challenge for me because I was thinking in my head, if she's seeing now that I'm going with her to work, how I show up at work, I might as well be at my best. And so I did a bit of introspection, and I know for a fact that there are a number of things that I wanted to change as far as me showing up at work. And I'm working on them, and I can see, I've seen small, small adjustments and improvements. So I'm just going to pat myself on the back and say, that's really good. One thing that I didn't anticipate, or perhaps I did, but I overlooked it a bit, or I underestimated it, was how exhausting it can be to parent full time. So that means you get no breaks or no days off. The only time that I am not with my child basically is when she's in school. Otherwise, when she's home, she's with me. When I go to work and it's a weekend or there's no school, then she's with me. And sometimes that can be a bit jarring and tiring. And of course, motherhood always involves giving. So you're giving of your time, you're giving of your energy, you're giving of a lot of, just your energy basically, and just being full time engrossed and involved in caring for your child and all of that. And I didn't, for a moment there, I really felt depleted. And it's also just juggling household chores and just being a full-time, just taking care of her full-time and all the time, and taking her everywhere with me. I noticed that I was starting to get a bit on edge, right? I was getting a bit on edge. I was getting irritable. I was feeling overwhelmed, tired, and then with all the events that were going on, and I really felt like my cup was empty. And so many times, I noticed that I would just want to sit in silence. I would wake up in the morning and struggle to have conversations with my child, but it's because I was feeling depleted, right? And later on last week, a friend of mine was able to do something really nice and really special to me that really poured into my cup. I felt seen, I felt heard, and it was just like for an hour or so, but they were able to create time to just listen to me, do something really nice and special, and I felt really good. After that, I felt so replenished, I felt heard, I felt seen, and I was able to show up better. And that jolted me to think I need to find small ways to find, as an adult, you always either be trying to solve something or deal with something or pay for something, and it's always good to find ways to find small pockets of joy and reprieve and peace. And so now I'll be more intentional about making spaces where I get small pockets of joy and relief. Because let me tell you, I know I'm a mom and I'm an employee and I kick ass and I do so well in every role that life has handed me. But also, I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl. Yeah, so there's all of that. But that's pretty much what has been going on in my mind. I recently had a come to Jesus moment with someone who I wasn't in the best terms with for a very long time. I didn't. I do realize, I'm those people who I always say I don't perish for lack of knowledge. It's very rare. Look, there are times that I do things, but it's out of not knowing. But because I'm deeply introspective, after doing something, I always look back and think, perhaps I should have done that differently, or I should have done better. And in this instance, I had been wronged, and I was really carrying around a lot of pain and bile and bitterness. And I was able to get to a point where I was able to communicate that, and my feelings were validated, and I was able to kind of get where the other person was coming from, and that really gave me a sense of reprieve. and I'm really in a very light space, and I love that for me. I also want to check in with you guys. How are you? How are you really? How is your heart? How is your mind? How are you feeling? Are you under pressure to kind of achieve a lot because now we are into the second half of the year? If you are, I want you to pause and just to know that by simply surviving the last 6 months, you have done your best. You have done so much. And it says a lot more that you feel you have, planned, or that you're hoping for and that you're praying to achieve. You have the next 7 months ahead of you, and God knows you have next year and the year after that and the year after that before He calls you home. And I just want to encourage you and tell you that the fact that you've powered through such turbulent times, you have done the very best you can with what you have. And I'm incredibly proud of you. If no one has told you, please let me tell you that I'm incredibly proud of you. This will be me closing up the fifth season of the Walking with Wanzuu podcast. And as we start season 6, which will be coming in soon, shortly after this episode, maybe in about a week or so, I'll be speaking about unspoken truths, a lot of unspoken truths. I said I'm going to go into this episode this year and be incredibly vulnerable because it's a space that I want us to be able to feel like we are sharing from a place of authenticity, but where people feel heard and seen. And if I can do that from my own experience, in my own story, and just also have kind of like an audible journal of my experiences where I can look back and think, that was an interesting season. This is what I learned from that season, and just see myself evolve and watch ourselves really evolve before our very own eyes. It's just very beautiful for me, and I hope to take you on this journey and experience life and just do life with you, because life is too hard to go through it alone, so we just do life together. Thank you so much for listening and for tuning in. I'm sending you so much warm hugs and love, and I just want you to know, in every little thing that you do, including listening to this podcast and powering through the episode after this particular minute, I am rooting for you. I love you. I see you, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you on the next season of the Walking with Wanzuu podcast. Peace and love. See you soon. Bye.